So it's the late 70s and I'm around 19, maybe just turned 20 years old, and I've just made the Australian baseball team for the first time, which is pretty exciting. And it's the first time ever that Australia's been invited to be in the World Championships, and it's going to be held in Italy, and preceding that there's going to be a tournament in Holland called Harlem Baseball Week. And I decide that I'm doing pretty well, but I really need to up my leg speed a little bit and get some more strength in my body. So I've got a mate called Keith Lancaster who I went to school with and grew up with in youth group and that too, and he's a really good runner. So I decide that for a few months I'll run alongside. When I say run alongside Keith, I would run behind him and just chase his tail the whole time. But I did improve over those few months. And there's somewhere along the line, I can't even think whose idea it was, we decided that it would be a good idea to run down to Phillip Island from Heathmont. Now, if you have a look on a map, that's a fair way. And we think we were ready for it. We got a couple of guys on their bikes, 3 guys, Malcolm Jackson, Peter Gray and Dougie, and they followed behind us to help us out. And we left Heathmont one morning and away we went. So, why am I standing outside the Cranbourne police station? Because that's where we spent our first night. We ran into Cranbourne quite late at night and we had tents and stuff, but we didn't know where we could set them up. We didn't know anything around Cranbourne, so we actually went into the police station, which was just a house back in those days. And the cop came to the door and we told him what we were doing. He said, "Oh mate, it's a little bit late at night to be trying to find somewhere, but if you want to, there's nobody in the cells." They had a lock up here. And so we finished up spending the night in the police station here at Cranbourne. A really lovely guy who was running it. And in the morning when we got up, we even asked him to do a couple of things for a little bit of fun for our film that we were putting together with the old Super 8 movie camera. And they were really willing to do that. They were just fantastic fun. So from Cranbourne, we got up in the morning, we had some breakfast with them, and we headed off again. A stack of stuff happened along the way, but one thing that I remember was that we were running along about where I'm driving now, and this guy pulls his car over. And he asked us what we're doing, because on the t-shirt I had a thing that said Phillip Island or bust, and so he told him we were running down to Phillip Island and that I was training and Keith was a runner. And so he took a photo of us, which finished up in the local newspaper down here, and he sent us a copy. So this is where we finished up at the end of day 2. I don't even know where it is, but we turned down that street over there somewhere, wherever it is, and we headed down. We came across a farm and we asked the farmers if the guys on the bikes could pitch their tents in the back of their paddock, and they said, yeah, no worries, they could do that. But Keith and I, they told us to come inside the house. We had a shower and we actually slept in their lounge room. I'll never forget, they made strawberry milkshakes for us out of real strawberries. They were amazing people. In the morning we packed all the tents up and we headed off down the road for our last day, which was going to be really hot and really tiring, but the destination was cows. It was really hot and the guys on the bikes were going back getting us ice and all that sort of stuff. But we knew that we were also approaching Anderson's Hill, and Anderson's Hill was a really long, steep hill just before you get to the roundabout and head off towards the island. You spot the bridge heading across to Phillip Island as you come into San Remo, and you feel like, man, we've nearly done it. So remember, we rolled some toilet paper across the bridge and ran through it as a finishing line. Now, I'm not a long distance runner by any stretch of the imagination, but when you realise that to run from Heathmont to Phillip Island is nearly 130 kilometres and you get to the other end of the bridge, there's a great relief. And so we forged ahead with 17 k's to go, and we told the guys on the bikes, you go ahead, we'll catch up with you in Cows. But then things changed just a little bit down the road. So we get about 3 k's down the road past the bridge towards Cows, and we get to this point where I'm standing now, and I said to Keith, listen, we've made it to Phillip Island. I don't particularly care if we don't make it to Cows. Let's hitchhike. I've had it. And he turns to me and he says,
me too, mate. Let's do it.
So we start to hitchhike, and this is no joke. 20 seconds after we start to hitchhike, over that little hill there comes a police car. And this police car pulls up and there's 2 cops in there and they say, fellas, what are you doing? We said, we're just hitchhiking into Cows. And he says, you know, you're not meant to be hitchhiking. I said, yeah, I understand that. They said, where are you from? We said, Heathmont. I said, Heathmont? How'd you get here? I said, we ran. And they said, you ran from Heathmont to here? And I said, yeah, we did. And they said, get in the car. So we get in the back of the cop car and they drive us to Cows. But we go past the 3 guys on the bikes on the way, and Keith and I look out the back window and we start waving to them. And Malcolm Jackson, who's one of the guys at the front, nearly fell off his bike when he saw us in this cop car.
I remember that.
But we beat him into Cows by about, 3/4 of an hour. So we got into Cows, caught up with all our friends, and then a couple of days later headed home. Somebody drove us home. Of course, we didn't run home. You look back, you're young, you're silly, and, if you had your time again, would you do it?